every new office has come because of people. It's not because of Nate wanting to create this huge footprint. And I think that if more people thought about that, building with people, the right pieces, rather than having some grand plan or scheme to grow, I can tell you, every day I realize it more.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm better when they're better.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the NextGen Strategies Podcast. We are here with Mr. Nathan Stuckey today at Stuckey Law Firm in Springfield, and we are super excited because there's a lot of different things that we're going to cover today. And so thanks for being on today, and I'm really looking forward to getting into
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Sure. So you want to call you Nathan or Nate, or what's better?
Either one works. Nate's great.
Nate's great. All right. Well, let's just talk a little bit first. Obviously, like I said, we're here at the law firm today. Want to hear a little bit about, have you always wanted to be a lawyer, or how did you even start to get into that side?
Well, it's funny. You just had your Reds cup up.
Heck yeah.
And I would say that the Reds are probably the reason I'm a lawyer today.
Oh, yeah.
I went to law school because I wanted to stay in sports.
Okay, sure.
Sports my entire life.
Yeah.
Wanted to become an agent or work in a front office. Went to UD for law school. After the first year, trying to get my first job or internship.
Sure.
Applied for one with the general manager, who I believe was Walt Jocketty at the time.
Yeah.
With the Reds. Went through that process. 2 or 3 different interviews, got down to me and one other person who was also a law school student at UD.
Sure.
He was a 3L. It came down to one question, is what I was told.
Oh, yeah.
And that one question on my third interview was, why'd you go to law school? And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to tell this guy the absolute truth, because I want to be in sports and I love it. And I want to compete and I want to do all these things, and
Sure.
felt like I killed it, knocked the question out of the park, right?
Yeah.
Well, get the call, you didn't get the gig, and he said, I asked the same question to the other guy, and he gave us the answer we wanted, and that's to become a lawyer. And that was because we need somebody that wants to look at contracts and get into the nitty gritty of all the boring crap that we all don't want to do, right? And so I'm like, man, I thought I killed it. So
Right.
From there, I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do now. And I had a close friend from from high school at Shawnee that was a year older than me in law school. His firm, which is a personal injury firm in Dayton, had a gig that was open. Said, hey, we need somebody. You ready? Went to that interview, got the job. The rest is history. So here we are. So I blame the Reds.
Awesome. Well, you can blame the Reds for that. I blame them for a lot of my misery that I feel every year. So
same.
Let's see. At the time that I'll just throw it out there, at the time that we're recording this, we still don't know the news on Kyle Schwarber, so we'll just leave that in here. But so very cool. So you obviously started thing from there, and then how have you progressed to now having your own firm and where we're sitting today?
Yeah. So I started working at that firm. Worked there all through law school. They hired me out of law school.
Mm-hmm.
Worked there from 2010. Became a partner at one point. Opened my own office of that firm in Springfield. And then just wanted to do things different.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to take a different approach. Wanted a little bit more control over my time and over my future.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to do things, we'll call it my way, right? And so I left there and opened my own firm based out of Springfield, and with a focus of helping people who were injured as a result of other people's actions and trying to hold those people accountable.
Awesome.
What was your process of kind of determining that the personal injury was the field that you'd want to go? Because I think we talked a little bit off camera CPA world has some of the same things where there's specialties, and law is one of those areas with tons of specialties. Was it just kind of the first thing you came into? Was there something that gave you some passion behind it?
Yeah, I think the old school thought process is I can do it all. And I've got to take it all because you never know who's going to walk through the door next. I think that's the worst thing that people in my profession could be doing. And it's probably the same way in the accounting world. I don't know how to answer your question other than to say I got forced into it. Right. Some degree, right? Yeah. So I got hired by a firm that did personal injury. I knew nothing about personal injury prior to getting that job. But I think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And looking back, it all makes sense how it all fell into place. I have a passion for people. I want to help people. Growing up, I lost everything twice when our house burnt down. So I went through tragedy. It wasn't necessarily somebody else's fault, but I knew what it felt like to lose it all when I didn't plan for it, didn't ask for it, didn't know where to go or what to do next, right? And so I know what that feels like. But I also think that it fuels my competitive passion to some degree too.
Yep.
We talked about sports and growing up, and that's my entire life. And in this line, I can compete, right? And I can push to make sure people are treated fairly. And it allows me that opportunity every single day to come to work and do what I want to do, and that's help people and force those who are being unfair. I can force them to treat people the right way.
Yeah.
And so that's gratifying.
Yeah, for sure. And, you kind of touched on now, like you get to work with so many different people now, both, obviously as clients, but, you've got multiple locations as a firm, a lot of people you work with now, but, that may or may not have been your vision originally of like where this thing has grown to. So maybe like, talk a little about like, how have you gone from, starting your own practice to like, investing in people and bringing people in? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I would tell you that it was absolutely not my plan. I left the old firm with my right hand, Christine, who's still with me. She's still my right hand. She's one of the most loyal people I know. And I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about this without her.
Sure.
But I would tell you that every decision along the way has been a very, very methodical, planned out process in reverse. It wasn't something that I drew out on paper as this is what we're going to do next. This is what an opportunity presented itself. And at that point in time, I had to make a decision as to what I wanted to do. Right. Does this make sense for me? Does this make sense for my firm? Does it make sense for my family? And those that depend upon me. And so that first opportunity was my now partner, Mike Vervoort, who was a young attorney that I think reminded me a lot of me.
Yeah.
Right. And it's been a lot of fun growing with Mike and seeing him take off. He is an extraordinary lawyer who has a passion for others, who wears his heart on his sleeve and would do anything for anyone, right, at any point. And so I think it takes that, doing what we do. Now, but watching his career get to where we are now has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, having him was the first decision, was not an easy thing to do. Got to pay somebody.
Right.
You got to take on that overhead. Do I have enough cases? Am I going to have enough cases? Is there going to be enough work to pay for him and me? And how's that all going to work? But, I think looking back, I should have done it sooner. Easy to say now.
Right.
But, every new office has come because of people. It's not because of Nate wanting to create this huge footprint.
Yeah.
And I think that if more people thought about that, building with people, the right pieces, rather than having some grand plan or scheme to grow otherwise and for other reasons, I think a lot more people will be successful.
Yeah.
In your experience, because your industry is, so filled full of partnerships as, business structure, what have you seen over the years is like what makes partnerships work well? Because we see partnerships not only with, CPAs and attorneys, right? Every business you could think of have partnerships. And I know we all at this table probably have heard of, horror stories, but there are ones that run incredibly well. I would love your kind of thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, at least in the legal world or the business world as a whole, because, let's not make no mistake, running a law firm is no different than running any other business. It just has a different focus or it's in a different sector, right? And so, I think there are lawyers that are afraid to run their law firm like any other business. And I think that causes a lot of strain and a lot of other problems. This is a business. But I think it all comes down to fairness and being open and transparent and treating people the right way, treating people the way you want to be treated. I have learned a lot from other lawyers that do what I do, that have been doing it longer than me, that I look to for guidance and advice, and mentors like Dave Meyer and Chris Patno and Frank Gallucci, Brian Miller, and some others that, I think Dave told me once, people leave for one of two reasons. Either one, you want them to leave, right? They're not performing, or, it doesn't make sense for both people. So you want them to leave. Or two, they're going to leave because you don't treat them right. That may be monetarily, right? It also may be that the business environment, the office environment's not right. You're disrespectful. You don't support your folks. And, I think there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah. And I think that it sounds like, a lot of your growth has been a result of like finding the key people who match you from a culture value standpoint, more importantly than maybe going and grabbing the greatest talent or the person that maybe will give you a fastest growth trajectory revenue wise, because you know how important it is to keep that scale alive, or keep the culture up.
There's zero doubt. All success is people driven. And all my success is because I have the right people around me. It has nothing to do with Nate being the best lawyer there is. It has nothing to do or focused on me. Yeah, it's all because I have met the right people who look at things and want to do things the way I want to do them. And it works because we want to be around each other. I mean, it's all about people.
And you mentioned this a little bit, and what you're saying too, like surround yourself with great people internally. But it sounds like you also have had some really like strong mentors or folks who have maybe given you advice or a different perspective on things. So like, has that been something like you've always been like, hey, always kind of seeking out advice for stuff, or like, what is that like, just kind of grown into that, but where have you found the value with that? Like, what are some things you're seeing there?
No, I think there were some growing pains before I either knew I needed to look for sound advice.
Sure.
Or maybe young Nate thought he knew everything and could do things better than everybody else, which was not true. But at some point in time, you realize you don't know what you don't know, right? And what better way than to find somebody that does what you do and are successful at doing it? There's no need to ever, for the most part, recreate the wheel, right? Or reinvent the wheel. Start from square one. Find somebody that you have a relationship with, that you trust, that has done it, and put your spin on it. There's no need. So I think it was a learning process. I made mistakes. I still make mistakes. I'm certainly not always right. My wife would tell you that. But you've got to make mistakes to create, to find progress and find success.
For sure.
If it's like the lawyer that tells you they don't lose trials. I've never lost a trial. Well, then you've not tried enough cases.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah. And I think that your background in sports, that like failure oftentimes is like what's going to help you grow and be even better. Right.
We're not losing, we're learning.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And I know like for me, and you could probably speak for yourself too, but like, when I had gotten started out with my business and stuff, like, I was very controlling and want to make sure like I had my, kind of spin on things. And one of the things, and I'm still learning this today for sure, is being able to let go of certain things and let other folks maybe take things that are maybe a little bit differently than you, but not necessarily, bad or worse. And I think delegation could be a big piece of that as well.
Well, it's a bottleneck, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, and like you, I make this mistake still. And my partners and people that work for me would tell you that Nate wants to have his hands on everything. And that's not always a bad thing, right? I know how I want it done.
Mhm.
It's worked. But at the same time, there's no way that I can do it all, no matter how hard or how many times I try.
Right.
And I will continue to try.
Yeah.
But, that can stall progress.
Right.
That can create its own issues along the way, whether it's with relationships, whether it's with revenue, whether it's with progress for clients and cases. At some point in time, if you have the right people, you've got to let them go. Right? You've got to let them take off. You got to let them do it, even if it's a little different than the way you
Right.
right? Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Like even talking about it, I mean, I hate, but it just, look, I'm not the best at what I do. There are people that can do things that I do better. There are, and we just have to trust our people. And at some point in time, if you don't, they're going to leave.
100%.
Part of my job is to help them become the best at what they are and what they can be. And if I don't do that, I'm either being selfish or I'm holding them back. And either way, they should, one, and two, they're going to leave.
Yeah.
It's so hard to let those people fail and not try to just interject yourself and fix it as you go. Like I'm known to be the worst person to stand behind you when you got a spreadsheet open. Because I'm like, because you can see a vein popping out of my head because if I do it this way. But I think what's really eye-opening, though, is the first time you see someone do something way better than you would have done it or differently that you'll go, oh my gosh. That, that I think gives you some signs of, okay,
Absolutely.
like go a little.
I breathe a little bit better now. Yeah.
Well, I still coach a lot, right? I mean, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
If I wasn't a lawyer, or if I go back, I would probably just get into coaching. It is my release. It is my opportunity to, again, help people.
Yeah.
Be part of the community, make it better than the way we found it, all those things. But I say it all the time to other coaches and parents. It's okay to fail. It's okay to let your kid fail.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to let your employees fail. That's how we learn. And, I think a lot of people have problems with that.
Mm-hmm. And I think as you've, we've kind of talked more on the law firm side, but it sounds like, a lot of lessons just in like, delegation and trusting people. And that sounds like, that's kind of spurred off even into some maybe other business ventures that you're now involved into. And maybe, talk a little bit to how some lessons learned here, maybe as you scale, like what are maybe some of those other ventures that you're in now and how those lessons really kind of translate to even other things.
I think diversification is a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would strongly suggest everybody do that when and if you can, right? My father and I bought a UPS store, retail store, 10 years ago from one of his clients. They were talking, you're a CPA, like my father. And so he knew the books, right? And we wanted to do something together. And so it sounded like a great idea at the time. Sure. This will be easy, right? It's not easy.
Passive income.
Yeah. It'll just show up in the bank account, right? No. again, it all goes back to people. You have to have the right, and we learned this along the way. You're going to make bad hires.
Yeah.
You just are. Learn to cope with that right now, right? But I think the one thing out of that I've learned is learn to cut the cord quickly, and that's okay. It's good for the employee, because either they're not a good fit and they're not happy, which is making things difficult for you and your business, or two, I think that sometimes that's a wake-up call for them, and it'll help them learn to get better. And later on in life, they'll look back and understand that you were part of their turnaround too. But holding on to that and trying to force something that's just not going to work is detrimental to everybody. So I think that's one lesson. But to get back to your, we now have 2 UPS stores. And I think there's some desire to get deeper into that maybe.
Sure.
But again, it's all about time, finding the right people that's going to run that next store, so that I'm not running the next door or, filling boxes and all those things. But, I think a lot of people look at people who own businesses or get involved in a lot of different things, and they always ask, well, how do you have time for that? I don't. I just don't. Right. But we get through it one day at a time. But two, I think people need to understand that there's a lot of failure, and there's a lot of growth, and there's a lot of hard days and stress that goes into everything. Some of us are able and better at masking it than others, but it's not easy.
Talking about diversification, I'd love your take on, specifically. I mean, you're thinking, okay, we picked up UPS stores. Clearly, you can't be the GM of that UPS store.
Well, I can.
Yeah.
But it's not going to run well.
Yeah. Well, that's what's interesting to me is that, you being here at the law firm as you're bringing people in, like you're right here and people have access to you. But I'm assuming you had to go through the challenges of how can I get these stores running appropriately without my presence always being there, because it's impossible. Like you said, there's not enough time. So did you have a lot of lessons that you're like, wow, this is different than how I've been kind of bringing people up in my law firm,
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the biggest challenges was, well, we want this bottom line to look a certain way. And so, it was like working backwards, which I think led to more stress, because if you don't hire the right person because you're trying to save money, it's going to cause you more stress. It's going to cause you to have to do things you don't have time to do, all the things. And so what we've learned is hire the right person, even if it costs you more money, and it'll all work out. I hate to say that, but you get the right person, they're going to do the right things. They're going to make your business run smoother, which is going to make you happy.
Yeah.
It's also going to make those who work under them in your business more happy. It's also going to then fold over into making your customers more happy from a culture standpoint, service standpoint. And so, those numbers will grow to cover up that higher overhead. But again, it's a risk, and it's hard to grasp it, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I'm not the numbers CPA guy. Like, yeah, if you're always looking at I'm always looking at the line, I'm like, okay, I want that to be different. Why am I not here? Why am I here? And I sometimes, like, if you're only on that numbers driven piece of it, you're like, gosh dang it. Like, but.
Well, Nate makes a good point, because you can almost manufacture that number. It's like, yeah, if you underhire or don't want to pay what it takes to get the right person, you could maintain that bottom line. But how much did that cost you of your time that's not in that P&L? I guarantee you're not putting your shower thoughts and you're up at 1 a.m. and your Saturdays when you're not with your kids on that bottom line. And what you're saying is that right person is what alleviates a lot of that for you as well.
Problems in one area creates unnecessary burdens and sacrifices in others, right? Whether that, again, family, right? Why aren't you here? Why aren't you present? You're here, but you're not here, right? Because you're on your phone, you're on your laptop, you're on the phone all the time. You might as well just be at the office, right? And so, yeah, I think just just because the number looks right doesn't mean that the way you got there is right. And eventually it's going to boil over. And so, that again, sometimes it takes learning it the hard way to get there.
Yeah. And you've mentioned, family, and you've mentioned, coaching, and obviously you've got the businesses going on. Like, how have you been able to kind of like maybe manage that time, or delegate when needed, or make sure like you're always like how have you been able to, and not saying you've got it all figured out, but like maybe what are the things that you do not your work
Let you break it up very clear, right? You're not here to tell you, sure, have it all figured out. And one of the things I continue to strive to be better is a better husband, a better dad, a better friend, because those relationships are worth more and are more important than any business you may or may not get into. Because at the end of the day, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have anybody to share it with, what's the point of doing it? What are we doing here?
Yep.
Right? You can't take it with you.
Yep.
And I think too many people, certainly in our generation, are so focused on money, so focused on feeling like they've created success, or they're doing things to make themselves feel like they've done that, right? And they're sacrificing or they're giving up relationships. And at some point in time, that catches up to you too. We all see it, right? And I think people that are of older generations would all sit at this table right now and tell us, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have anybody to share with, you don't have anybody to hang out with, you don't have, it's the old, well, nobody showed up for his funeral type thing, right? What type of life are you living? It's not worth doing. It's not. So my advice to anybody is do not sacrifice your family and the people that mean the most to you for anything. It's just, you can't get that back.
Oh, for sure. And I think that, that's a trap that a lot of people can fall victim to sometimes, and keeping the main thing.
You can't get that T-ball game back. No. But guess what? On Monday morning when you go to work, it's going to be there. You can do it then. Right. And so that's a huge culture thing here for not only me and my partners, but also for the employees. It's a non-negotiable. You do not miss family things. This will be here. We'll get it done. So
100%. Well, we've talked a lot about quite a variety of things. I mean, just from, kind of how you got your start. We shot, kind of stabbed their heads a little bit, but just how they stabbed enough times. Listen, I've given my fair share to tickets anyway, but no, talking about just how you got started, and just a little bit of the scale of the business, your investment in people, and then how many lessons learned have helped you diversify into other things, and obviously just kind of now wrapping up with by the way, like, you need to have that greater sense of purpose for the different things that you're doing, and at the end of the day, like, that's very important. And so I think that's something a lot of our listeners can definitely resonate with. And I want to leave with just kind of this question too, like, is there anything else from your perspective, anything you'd like to maybe share, or, anything where you're like, hey, like, I'd be remiss if I didn't, also offer this as well?
No, I think if I went back to do it all over again, I don't want to, but if I had to go back and start all over again, I would bury my pride sooner. And ask for advice sooner, and be willing to take criticism sooner, right? We all think we've got it figured out, and the older we get, we realize even more that we don't, which seems backwards here. And that sense of arrogance, I would call it, is what holds most of us back until we can figure that out. And so that's number one. But number two, I think find the right people, trust your people, invest in your people, help your people become the best. If it's an attorney, I want Mike to be the best attorney that Mike can be, right? Well, we're PJ in West Virginia, Christian here in Springfield. I have great people, and I want to do whatever I can to help them get to the highest point that they can get, even if that means that at some point in time they leave or they want, look, that's my job, that's my duty, and I think there's not enough of us that want to help others, and they misconstrue the fact that that's only going to help you and your community moving forward. So I think there needs to be a better focus there.
When you talk about arrogance or ego, and I'm sure you've fallen trapped to this, and I do as well, is there are probably points in your career where you're like, I don't know if someone can do what I do. Like they can do it as well as me or this, that. Were there moments that it kind of like woke you up that people can, or do you think it just you had to just put the trust out there and find it along the way? Because I'm sure there were things when we talk bottlenecks and delegation that you just wouldn't let go. And then finally when it happened, you felt that sense.
I've absolutely thought that before.
Yeah.
Right. I believe I'm the most competitive person you'll ever find. Right. And so I've obviously thought that at some point. But I was wrong.
Yeah.
Right. If anybody believes they are not replaceable, you are a fool. Right. If something happens to me tomorrow, the Stuckey firm will go on. Right. The UPS store will open.
But you've let that happen.
Well, sure.
Right. Yeah.
Whether I was fighting it or not, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like the people that believe that we're the only reason, or we're the cog, is just false. And so again, it goes back to, make your people better. Whatever that means, letting your guard down, whether that means putting money into training, whether that means coaching, whether that means allowing them to do things you think you're going to do better, right? Invest in your people. It will only elevate your business. And I can't think back to a certain point where I realized that, but I can tell you every day I realize it more.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm better when they're better.
Yeah.
That's well said.
Very well said. Well, we want to thank you once again, Nate, for joining us today. I think this is going to be an awesome episode for our listeners who, we cover quite a few things. I think that, many will be able to resonate with many of the points that we've made here today. So thank you again for joining us and inviting us down here. And until next time, everybody, this is the NextGen Strategies Podcast. We'll see you soon. Thanks. Thanks for tuning in to the NextGen Strategies Podcast, where we share real stories and practical strategies to help you grow your business. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to like and share it on all of our social media channels.